Okay, so let's go over today this, we'll continue with this 4 contemplations of mindfulness. And we'll go over the feeling side today. So before we went over kind of this body form or contemplation, mindfulness of the body, and kind of how to combine that with this Vajra Recitation. And we looked at a few of the different views from the different vehicles and how to apply this awareness, contemplation, and meditation on the body itself. So today will be feeling, right? So before we jump into it, let's take a moment and just cultivate this mind of compassion for beings, bodhicitta, and the intent to practice for the benefit of oneself and others. Okay. All right, so first, on these contemplations, we start with the body because this is where we kind of enter our practice. We enter the practice through, when we're doing kind of a formal session, right? We sit. So the first thing you have to be comfortable with is like just the bare awareness of you sitting. You have to kind of hone in your posture. You have to become comfortable in some way. Not be like too agitated in your form. You need to like breathe in a relaxed way. That way your mind kind of settles, right? In general, like you want to be not in an uncomfortable disposition of like either inner environment, let's say your room or outside, not too hot, too much sun beating down on you, not too cold, right, in a freezing situation. So our form, like how we approach the aspect of form, is already kind of the first step to having some sort of conducive space in order to engage with the mind, right? So the second contemplation or meditation or aspect of this mindfulness is feeling. And this feeling has to do with, it's very basic actually. We can categorize it into like or dislike, comfort, discomfort. It's essentially like acceptance or rejection. It's this kind of gateway or bridge before we get into other factors of like deeper factors of like grasping, like pride, ignorance, anger, anger, desire, ignorance, pride, jealousy. Like before those things kind of spiral out, first we have like we reject something or we accept it. We find it pleasant and we hold on to it, or we find it disagreeable, we push away from it. It's a very quick impulse. This impulse happens before the other storylines come up, before the kind of like base emotions start to arise. Like you won't actually have let's say for example, like the desire to grasp at something. Let's just say we're walking down the street and there's some object we're drawn towards. Initially, that you see the object, whatever it is, and you're either drawn to it and you feel good towards it, or you kind of don't want it, you're pushed away, or there's just a neutrality, you don't care. It's going to be one of these 3 things, right? Like positive feeling or good, neutral, or like rejection, negative feeling, kind of like bad, right? it's only from these things that we then start to do this layering of other kind of base emotions and then storylines on it. So, for example, you could see something in the window of a restaurant or cafe or something. Okay, I like coffee, right? So it's like I'm walking, I see a coffee shop, then I go, oh, there's an initial impulse and feeling of good, comfort, I like. Then I get drawn in. Then the next kind of like base thing will come in. Desirous, like I desire this certain thing in there because I recall whatever memories that it brought up and all the associations. So I desire this particular flavor of drink with whatever combination. Now I've like attached to the object. Mentally I go in, I get the object, I order it, I take it, I ingest it, I sip it. Now there's all these other things that come up with the sense spheres and the grasping and attaching to that, right? But it first started with this impulse, like comfortable, not comfortable, like, dislike, good, bad, very basic, right? So then how does that apply to our body when we're sitting, right? In activity as well, but now we're talking more about the sitting aspect. When we come to sit, we've kind of settled our body. We've like followed the breath, right? And the first thing we looked at was like following the breath. And of course we'll apply that with this Vajra Recitation, right? It will link into that. The next thing that comes up is that after some time, let's say especially doing this practice of Vajra Recitation, right? Because I'm trying to link everything with Rinpoche's instructions on that. When we're doing this inhalation, holding, exhalation, right? Whether we're doing it softly or with this like vase breath, if we're consistent with it and we actually do that method as like a full session, let's say we sit down for a short session of 20 to 30 minutes and we're applying the method of Om Ahom, right? After we've taken refuge in bodhicitta and cultivated our intent, this process of using the vase breath, inhalation, holding, exhalation, is going to bring up sensations in the body, body-mind, right? And these sensations are going to be either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So you already have this kind of you'll have this direct experience, either at a very like subtle level, or it will expand into like greater states of feeling through the sensation that arises. So for example, when we're doing this Vajra Recitation practice and using the vase breath, and we're doing it for some time, if a strong sensation of like pleasure comes up in our body, right, then the first thing we do is we take this is what we kind of do as default. Our mind goes, oh, this is really nice. Then we cling to this experience of a pleasurable feeling, and that actually takes us away from this process that we're supposed to be kind of involved with through this single-pointed concentration by placing our awareness, in this case, let's say in the navel. What we're supposed to be doing is constantly going back to the wind-mind energy focused on a certain point, concentrating on the mechanics of the breath, and allowing this unrelenting placement to happen. From that placement, then these energies arise, right? So let's say a feeling of like a pleasurable feeling to the body. Then we break our concentration, even if it's like very quickly and unknowing. We move our awareness kind of abiding in a certain place, and we overemphasize the mind grasping onto the pleasurable experience. And this actually like moves the wind mind energy away from kind of this space of being able to reclaim a home that it's unfamiliar with, right? We haven't really opened the door to this home of like deep spaciousness yet. We're used to feelings. We're used to like pleasure. We're used to pain. So when these things arise, the tendency is for like the mind to like grasp onto the feeling of pleasure or pain, right? Acceptance, and either accept or reject it. And then we use that pleasure or pain as like a secondary gateway into another type of like mind state. But for example, in this Vajra Recitation, even though things are going to come up, pleasurable, not pleasurable, discomfort, comfort, these are things we're not supposed to actually like wrap onto and hang on to so much. We're supposed to notice them and be aware of them, kind of make a mark, a check mark. Okay, there it is. That arose, that's fine. But you always take this like wind, mind energy, or this mind to the this particular area in your body, and then you cultivate this mingling of wind-mind energy there. And this allows the kind of gross mind to settle more, and then the subtle mind to sort of arise. So if you use the imagery of like the central channel, right? This central channel really is like a door or a gateway that we haven't completely like opened yet. The floodgates are not open for our wind mind to like enter and like travel and abide there, right? Up through the channels and all the processes that happens. So we start to get a little glimpse of some kind of activation. So like you can think of these feelings of pleasure or discomfort when you're doing like a practice of this like Vajra recitation using the vase breath. Like this is going to access all kinds of little areas like that: pleasure and pain, comfort, discomfort, harmony, disharmony. And this is the door being open. It's like, you have a door in your house. Sometimes it's smooth when it opens. If you don't pay attention to it, it will creak like, maybe like it's off a line that drags. And all of these things are stuff that we have to adjust. And we adjust by noticing what's going on. Like in the house, we would do like an actual fix, right? Spray some WD-40, make the door more level. But if we're focused just on that one thing that happens when the door opens, like it's creaking, it's discomfort, I won't open the door again, right? Or it's so nice when the door opens, like I'm just going to like leave it open all the time. Then that creates other issues, right? Like now maybe you don't want traffic coming in and out of that door, right? Like, so this is like the regulation part. When a feeling of joy or bliss arises, or a good sensation, we notice it and we take care of it by noticing it and just kind of like making a mark. There it is. Like, that's fine, no problem. Let it just be, but don't like completely integrate your mind into this feeling or experience. And the same thing with a negative, what we would like perceive as negative or discomfort, right? Like discomfort comes up, and then we'll have the tendency like, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to practice this anymore. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to stop doing the method because like now I'm not comfortable with the method. I don't like it. Because we've attached so much on this kind of like feeling of discomfort and rejected it that we're not willing to let the process come and dissolve. And the same thing with pleasure. We attach so much to it that we want it to stay. So when it dissolves, then we're trying to recapture this feeling again. And all of these things are like not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to recapture something. We're not trying to reject something. We're trying to actually like enter a space we haven't entered before. But before we can enter that space, the gatekeepers of pleasure and pain are there. It's actually, they're just kind of like gatekeepers and maybe distractions that won't allow us to completely dissolve these like concepts of acceptance or rejection. Like we have to kind of let those concepts go first before we can like enter this deeper space, right? So in this form of vase breathing, Vajra Recitation, working with the winds and the channels. Like we've settled the body, we've relaxed, we're in a space that's comfortable, we're sitting comfortably, we're wearing clothes that are comfortable. Like we find this balance, we start to do the breath, right? First kind of we notice this breathing in, this like kind of, we need to have some kind of like rhythmic stability in like how we're breathing. Then we enter into this Vajra Recitation. And now, like, thoughts and concepts are going to come up anyway. That's like the story, it's like this, the process. But we're just kind of isolating it so we understand each part of the process. So then we start to get into the mechanics of it. And then when we notice comfort or discomfort, like going towards this object because we like it, pushing away from this object because we don't like it, like going towards this mind state because it feels good, like going away from this mind state or wishing it wouldn't arise because it doesn't feel good. Now let's strip that layer away and kind of notice, like, what is it that's noticing these two things in the first place? Because there's something there. There's an awareness that's noticing. I don't like, I like. I want, I don't want. Like pleasurable, not pleasurable. There's a basic awareness that's right there that's actually able to discern between these two things. And this basic awareness itself is free from those two things. This is the thing that's able to have all of these things arise within it. So this is kind of what we're trying to stay with. This basic awareness that notices all possibilities, right? So you can even come back and tell yourself, even if it's like a little mental note, go back to this basic awareness. A storyline comes up, go back to this basic awareness. A feeling of pleasure or pain comes up, don't attach. Go back to this basic awareness. And we access this through the breath, right? Of inhaling, holding, exhaling. This is our anchor point. Inhaling Om, holding Ah, exhaling Hum. Right? And we do that. We get distracted, we come back to the anchor point. We either can thank mentally, right? Om, Ah, Hum. Inhale. Om. Hold Ah, exhale Hum. And this space of kind of like gentle, very simple openness that's there. We're not going too deep into like, Om, it's white light rays are shining out, and the Om is shiny and it's sparkling, and like it's, we're not going too deep into that. You have a little bit of whatever you need to trigger the concept of like what Om means, right? The body of all Buddhas. But don't go so deep into it. Just, it triggers it. Same with Ah. Ah, right? We know it's like a red Ah, and it's the quality of the speech of all Buddhas and the blessing of like the inner channels and all of this. Very slightly touch that. Don't go so deep. Hung, you understand that Hung is like this blue color seed syllable, and it represents like the enlightened mind of all Buddhas. Like the light of Hung goes out and gathers blessings and comes back to you. But don't get caught up so much on the details, because then it's just another really like very mentally constructed storyline. We touch the general meaning, we know that, but really kind of try to abide in this like open, like vase-like space of a big, clear awareness, right? And then just notice the things that come up, mark them, accept them, and move on and come back to the anchor of the breath and this open space that's there. All right. So now let's sit for 5 minutes or so with this Vajra Recitation and vase breath, right? So the most basic level is just inhaling, holding, exhaling. You want to add kind of a little bit. You inhale, you think Om. You hold, you think Ah. You exhale, you think Hum. You want to add more, then you inhale Om and you visualize this, white colored Om syllable with like light rays going out, touching touching all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, you receive blessings back. And then same with each of the other syllables. But again, not so much like grasping onto the kind of mental process of thinking of all the details. Like feel that. It's more about like feel that that's happening. Like understand that that's happening. Not so much like drawing a cartoon in your mind about the process. Okay. Okay, that can be the first round that we do. So essentially it's like, if we can abide kind of in this like more open, spacious awareness that's not dull, right? You're still able to take in sensory input. You're still able to feel kind of the liveliness of it. It's not a dead space where like you've shut down completely. It's still like very alive in the sense of any possibility can arise from it. The more we abide there, then this first kind of bridge of feeling, we can notice it a bit more. So, we go out throughout our day and we're mingling with the world. We encounter something, and then this impulse comes up. Good feeling, bad feeling. The quicker you can notice this sensation, this kind of base arising, then the quicker you can like release that, right? And we don't need to judge the feelings at all either. It's not like, oh, that's a good feeling. That's nice that there's a good feeling. That's a bad. I don't feel that space. Like there's a bit of a kind of like revulsion from it. You immediately notice it, and you don't also judge. No judgment about having some sort of revulsion to it. But you can more quickly notice these things, then the storyline doesn't hook in, and you come back to kind of this more basic awareness that's right there. You can think of these two things as like if we look at the kind of rejecting part, I don't like this feeling. This is uncomfortable, bad. These things are like, these are little doorways or openings that we can understand where agitation comes from. We can understand sort of this unharmonious part of our condition in being, because it's going to be different for everybody. Like what triggers me and I find uncomfortable is not the same as what you find uncomfortable. So this gives us a really good it gives us a really good bridge to understand how, why, and where these feelings of comfort or discomfort arise within us. Since they're triggered differently by everybody, unless it's like a really basic thing, like, there's somebody running at me, trying to attack me. Well, obviously I don't like that. That's like very coarse level. Here we're talking about a bit more subtle level, not just obvious like a wonderful aroma comes in the air that most people would agree upon as nice, or like the smell of shit wafting in. Like that's pretty common. We can agree that, oh yeah, that's not pleasant, that's unpleasant. Even within that, we should still be looking at like, how strongly we push it away and how strongly we're adhering to it. But here we're talking about even more subtle, even something like a bit more subtle than that. It doesn't have to be such a strong object. It can be a very like subtle object or interaction or like thing that comes up. And this is good because like what we're really trying to do in like Vajrayana practice, for example, when we're working with the generation stage, when we're working with the winds, when we're working with like, the practices that are pointed out by our teachers, like, Mahamudra, Dzogchen stuff, we're trying to actually come into some sort of complete harmony with things. It's trying to be like ultimately harmonious. Like you're not going to be able to abide in the state of like, so like Mahamudra, it says, Mahamudra is like the great, everything is like sealed in the view of like this great space where the completeness of everything is there, right? The great seal, everything is like sealed with authenticity and like vast like perfection, right? Or like in the Dzogchen view, like it's like the great completion. Everything is complete and perfect, the perfect purity within this space of awareness. Well, if we're pushing things and grabbing things and like saying this one is good and this one is not good, there's no great completeness there. There's no harmony there. Also, you cannot say like if Mahamudra is everything is sealed within the view of like the mandala or deity, right? If we look at it from a tantric view, everything is the mandala of the deity. But then you're like, I don't like that. This is like, this is not good. Well, then like what? So your mandala is not complete? It's like something lacking? It's something not good in your mandala, right? So like we need to like really refine those views, and those views can get refined by noticing when these triggers come. Now we're not talking about reject our normal normal conditions that we need to like live, eat, breathe, wake up, do the next thing. You know, you're driving your car down the street, the tire blows out, you don't go, this is okay, it feels bad, it's okay, and you just keep driving. You pull the car over, you change the tire, right? We're not talking about like standard things in like the operating system so you can come home and wake up again and like continue practicing Dharma. We're talking about like the general kind of input of it. Okay, so I'll give an example, like how these acceptance, rejection, and like really things can come on strong. So like I'm driving in my van on a dirt road to GBI. This happened a few times. Actually, like maybe Lihi's here. She was with me. I'm driving her back to GBI. We're hanging out. And then tire gets stuck, you know, because it's like raining in the mud. Tire gets stuck. My initial impulse, freak out. Like, oh my God, dude, this is horrible. Like, it's like, I have to call a tow truck now. I have to like, it's like money, like all these things. I can't believe, like, it's really overwhelming actually in a moment for me, right? I have this tendency to get overwhelmed actually. Then it's like, you know, a good pointing out, like, hey, what's there to do? All you do is you just call the tow truck. There's like literally nothing else you can do. Like, I can't pick the van up out of the mud by myself, right? I can't like I'm here, I'm already here. So then what to do? That's okay. Call the tow truck. That's it. And then you just wait, and then the tow truck comes and they pull you out of the mud. So that initial impulse of like, oh my God, this is terrible. What? It's so quick, right? And then like what spirals out from that is so massive. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm a terrible driver. This is horrible. Like, this is like, what a piece of shit car. I can't believe I decided to take this car. I can't believe now I have to work this much extra hours to get this money. And then people are going to think I'm stupid when they drive by. And like the whole thing spirals out, right? And it starts from this first impulse of like, I don't like how it feels. It doesn't feel good. I reject it. I push it away. Okay, as opposed to it happened, like those things, that something's going to come up, but immediately like, what's the remedy? Boom. I need to call the tow truck. And that's it. And just move on. And you just abide while the tow truck comes. And like you're still alive. Like nothing crazy happened. So you can really see how like the initial impulse of not liking the situation or the discomfort creates this whole storyline, right? Discomfort, acceptance, rejection, or neutrality. Then from that, you get anger, desire, ignorance, pride, and jealousy overall, like one of these things. Then from that, you get a whole storyline. And then you can imagine all the imprints that come from that. It's just like, now you're just creating more bakchaks and imprints, right? So this is a little, in my own life, it's like a real example of like, like learning to not be overwhelmed by a basic situation. It's not a big deal. Like AAA in the US, we have AAA, right? It's like the company you pay for to get roadside service. It exists for a reason. Why does it exist? Because like that's happening to tens of thousands of people across the country at any moment. Somebody's tire blows out, car breaks down. Like, yeah. So there's a remedy for it. The remedy is like if you have it, you call them and that's it. So like the whole thing about noticing that though, if I could have just noticed like, oh, I don't like this. Like if I could immediately notice the feeling and just come back, right, to the breath and body, sit, apply the method, then the remedy for moving on is much quicker, right? But impulse and imprint and like especially like pleasure or discomfort, like Yeah, pain and pleasure actually, like, liking, not liking, uh, and neutrality. Like all of these things are so. It's like that's basically the first impulse all day. All we're doing. I like, I don't like. I want, I don't want. I wake up. I want this thing. I want water. I want coffee. I want. It's just a one like impulse. Good, good. Go, go, go. Or like, no, I hear something I don't like. Shut it off. So we're constantly just blocking, pushing away, or like going towards something. It doesn't mean you're not going to go towards something. It doesn't mean you're not going to like reject something. But what it means is before you make that very quick decision where this like strong imprint and storyline happens, first, like notice it, take a breath, like center yourself, and then that will give you so much more freedom for your next decision, right? It basically gives you this giant space because when you're wrapped up in this strong uh, like clinging to something or pushing it away, right? The amount of openness, space, freedom, and time, everything collapses. Like just it all collapses into some jumbled mess. Whereas opposed to if you take a moment to let it like come up, notice it, say it's okay. Like that's coming from somewhere. It's a trigger. So like I kind of notice the arising. Then maybe later we can figure out why it triggers you. Like what is the body imprint? What is the body karma? What. But now you've just entered into a world where like there you didn't get so drawn out and pulled into this weird time loop. You didn't get your body didn't become tense and like your heart rate went up and like you get flushed with emotion. You had like a moment to like kind of just be. And you can feel good or bad. It's okay. But now you can feel it. Before you felt a little bit of it and then you just spiraled into this whole other thing. Now when you really feel something, you can allow it to release. But you have to let it come up first before it can collapse. It's almost like we let it come up, we capture it, and we shove it in all these different channels in our body. Take this emotion and put it here and put it there. Put it in my hand, put it in my head, put it in my speech. And this is like weird, kind of not a nice, not a conducive feeling to harmony. But if you let it come up and you notice it and you go, oh, okay, it's not comfortable. But you don't capture it, take it, manipulate it, and you just let it like, okay, it's not comfortable. And then what? And then it'll just fall away. Because you didn't try to control it, right? It's like controlling some wild animal. Like there's a wild animal, like it's passing you, let's say you're camping. Like, okay, this happened multiple times to myself in California. Camping, a bear comes to the campground. Not a crazy grizzly bear, just like a brown bear. Still, it's a bear. So I can just sit there, right? And most likely, like, it's not going to do anything, actually. They're not very aggressive. It will come, smell the food, and, like, it will go away, actually. It's like multiple times. But if I stand up, I run towards it, I take my belt off, I try to put it around its neck and pull on it, well, then it's a whole nother story, right? So it might not be comfortable when that bear walked. I'm not talking about 2 feet in front of me, it's 15 feet away. It's still not comfortable. 20 feet away, there's a bear. But I can like relax for a moment. Maybe I have to stand up and walk away, but I'm not rushing at it, grasping on it, like clinging to this thing. So this is the same thing with acceptance and rejection, pleasure and pain. All right, let's sit again 5 minutes with this Vajra Recitation. Okay. Second one for 5 minutes. So I think let me try to say it one more way, because maybe I wasn't good how I said it before. Not clear. So like in this situation, let's talk about the feeling of kind of feeling something as good, right? Drawn towards something. So you do this, you're doing this vase breathing, right? Can be any practice, but right now it's in the context of this. You're doing this vase breath. And like through Garchen Rinpoche's instructions, right? We'll just use this as the example. Your mind, through the breath, you're abiding your awareness at this hung and flame at the navel, right? A flame with hung in the center. And as you're abiding over and over with the breath, right? So you have to have a bit of awareness of the breath, right? Because you're keeping a kind of a rhythm or a cycle going. So this kind of settles you down. This is body, right? You're using the body as like a gateway, the processes of the body. Now you've taken your mind, your concentration and your awareness, and you've turned it in kind of to your inner subtle body, right? And let's say we're holding some sort of visualization or recollection of this flame at the navel, the center of your kind of core, right? So this kind of shamatha is happening, tantric shamatha now, because you're using seed syllable and imagery that's connected to this Vajrayana method. And then from that, you start to feel good. Actually, like your body is like, feels really nice, right? Sensations kind of flowing smoothly. Then you think, this feels good. It's subtle. Like, this is nice. You're doing the breath, you're kind of doing the visualization, but now you've looped into this. This feels good. I like this. No matter how subtle it is, right? Could just be really quick like that. Feels good. You're doing the breathing again, like, feels good. Like, it's nice. You're kind of aware of the good feeling. It's nice. This means like your mind, your wind mind energy has dissolved out into this conceptual phenomena of it feels good. So this is how we scatter our mind. You're still breathing. You're still doing the vase breath. You might have a little bit of like concentration on the hum at the navel, but a thought came up, very subtle, right? Generally, it's good. It feels good. This means like you've taken this concentrated awareness and it's scattered now to this all-pervasive feeling of good, right? As opposed to kind of noticing it's good, it's fine, not an issue, but you don't mingle and scatter your awareness with this all-pervading concept of it feels good. You go right back immediately to this effort of placing your awareness at the navel and the hung. You do the breath with however you're doing it, mechanic-wise, soft or hard or whatnot. And no matter what comes up, feels good or feels bad, I don't like it, not comfortable, whatever, a storyline comes up. You just kind of notice it, that's fine, but you hook, it's like a hook or a lasso. You're lassoing that wind energy back into that area. Then what that allows is, instead of being scattered by the concept of good or bad and really mingling with the subtle feeling, right? Which there is mingling with feeling and stuff like that. This is like another level of practice. But now, to cultivate the practice, you have to really like keep going back to placing the wind in mind on a specific point, and whatever arises, like notice it, let it collapse, and go right back to that point. Because then, if we hook onto this feeling of this feels good, then all we're doing is cultivating through the wind and mind like some very like rough, basic kind of like very samsaric feeling of like, pleasure, nice. It's pleasurable, it's nice. And that's not the point. The point is to actually take our mind awareness, hone it in, place it somewhere, and then through that process of kind of being unrelenting with it and not being scattered by good or bad, the subtlety of that basic awareness starts to expand, become more pervasive, and then from that, like the access to, let's say, like even where this feeling of good or bad comes from, you'll have way more access to understand like how this arises, where it's arising in your body. Like was there a trigger from a sensory input that had it arise? Is it like some past seed that's coming up? Like all of these things can become like more accessible if we just trust the process of like anchoring our mind to that space and not getting caught up in like the pleasure or the pain part of it. So it's really subtle. It's not like this thing comes up and you're like, amazing bliss, the bliss of the Buddhas, and like, it's not like some really strong thing like that. It's just like really subtle, like this feels good. And that's already, when you keep repeating that, the mind is scattered. So like, for example, in this Red Tara practice, like one of the subtitles in the name, this Red Tara Kurukule in this Drikung tradition from Oso Dorje, it's like, the all-pervading primordial great king tantra of like the magnetizing lady. It's like the method of the wind noose. There's a few ways to describe this wind noose. But one way is like, this is working with pranayama, right? This is like your breath is this like rope or noose that can control the mind. You're either reining in the mind through the wind and placing it somewhere, right? It's like, cowboy or something. You have a noose, you throw it around the bull, you pull it in. This is where the wind is the noose, and like what we're kind of reining in is our mind. So this noose of wind kind of takes hold at the hum of the navel, right? Because our concentration is there. Then, once you've roped something in, and like it will give up actually after some time. It will just give up, You put a rope around the dog in the beginning, it fights, it's fighting, it wants to break away. After some time, like it understands, I can't move past this on the pole. Like it's tied to a pole. It's not going anywhere. It gives up the idea of like the freedom of going somewhere. So it's the same thing. We take our wind mind, we harness it, we like rein it in by placing it on this pillar of Hong. And then at some time, like after some time, like all of these things become like less, we get less enraptured by these things that come up, pleasure and pain, than all the thoughts and storylines that come around it. And then at some point, we don't need to actually, it means over lots of cultivation, we don't need to be focusing so much on breathe in, hold, exhale. Like the mechanics actually took over through cultivation by like using the mechanics and the wind and placing it at the navel. At some point we just kind of abide naturally. The process becomes less harsh. Then when we're breathing throughout the day, we will just actually naturally we'll just breathe. We'll hold it for a moment, we'll breathe out. It becomes much softer, but just kind of naturally you'll breathe like that. And you're not thinking so much about, I have to place the mind at the navel, at the hung, at the flame. Like you've already done it so many times that naturally like you'll start to abide there. So like that's kind of the whole process of it. All right, I think we can end it there. I'll probably just talk in circles at this point about the same thing over and over. It's like, but you get the idea. And the idea is like we use our body, our breath, our concentration through the methods to hone, to rein in the wind-mind energy into a certain space in our body. And that's it. We go there and we kind of not forget, but notice gently what's coming up. But once you notice it, Don't mingle your mind with it. Just let it be, it will collapse. Because it's going to come up 1,000 billion more times. So just let it come up and collapse. And go back and use the method of placing your mind in this container of spaciousness that will slowly open, 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 open. So that's the first two steps, is like body and then feeling. And then from that, next time we'll talk about mind itself, thoughts, concepts, and then like how does that come into this practice of like Vajra Recitation and working with the winds and channels, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, I'll say Rinpoche's long life prayer. The one known in the Holy Land as Aryadeva emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet's Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Gompo. May the life of the glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 aeons. In this age of strife, when the victor's teaching faces hardship, through his powerful Vajra-like conduct, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the unbiased teachings. May Garchen, the son of the teachings, live long. Okay. So, thank you for practicing together. Then we dedicate all of the merit that we've accumulated for the benefit of all beings in all realms. And hopefully through us practicing our whatever our respective paths are and practicing together, then we cultivate this mandala. It reaches out a bit farther. And we take that with us, right? So we will do that. So today's Thursday. On Saturday is Guru Rinpoche Day, I think, right? So I will do some practice on. I'll put an email out. Probably tonight. We'll do some Guru Rinpoche Day practice. Probably same time. Okay. Thank you, everybody.